Thank you all for coming. Now, if you please help me welcome the man of the hour, Mark Goldsmith. So, as you all know, we're here celebrating my dad turning 60 years old. I'm pretty sure by this point the statute of limitations is off, so we're good, and I can tell you a few of these stories I prepared. When I was 13, I used to beg my dad to let me drive home from Hebrew school. I wasn't 16 yet, or had my license, or permit by this point. But I ended up annoying him so much that he actually let me one day. Oh yeah, he was scared shitless. Oh yeah, he was so nervous while I was driving, but it ended up being a tradition that stuck all throughout Hebrew high, or Hebrew school, as long as I didn't tell Mom. Yeah, sorry Mom, this is the first time you've heard about it.
So they think.
Yeah, now my dad hasn't always been the father of the year, as you can imagine. One time we were bowling, and I just bowled a turkey. I mean, I was stroking, I bowled 3 strikes in a row, took the lead in the 5th frame. I mean, it was great, I was glorious, I was so happy. But he wasn't too happy I was beating him. So he proceeded to follow me onto the lane on my next bowl, slap the ball on my backswing, start talking smack in my ear, and for the rest of the game, this continued. Needless to say, he got in my head, and I ended up losing the game. But what happened after the game is best. He asked me if I wanted a printout of the scorecard. And the father of the award goes to... But don't worry, I've gotten him back. To preface this story, a month before, not before today, because it sounds bad, but to preface this story, I had just gotten a speeding ticket. A few months later, it was April 1st, and I decided to call him in the middle of the day while he was at work and tell him that I had gotten another speeding ticket going 20 miles per hour over. The next thing I hear on the phone is, "Damn it, David! Not again! I can't believe how irresponsible you are! I know you're stupid, but not this stupid!" Fools, Dad. And I cannot stand up here without talking about the Craigslist king himself. After all, he did con the nickname himself. After he finds a good deal on Craigslist, to this day, he walks around the house going, and the Craigslist king strikes again. If you want something, he can find it cheaper. It might not work 100%, but he'll find it cheaper. Thank you for everything you've taught me thus far. I want to name a few bullet points that I've learned from you. I love to piss my money away. I fart around too much. He's got a guy for everything. The man with the gold makes the rules. And Mama is always right. And now let's bring up our first roaster, Grandma. Where is she? I cannot say anything bad about you, nor do I really think I'm allowed to. You definitely know my father the best out of anyone here, and I'm very sorry for that. Now, I'd like everyone to please give a big round of applause and welcome to the woman that has put up with Mr. Mock for 60 years, Grandma.
Everybody says to me, I know how you feel when you have such a wonderful family. or I know how you feel when, you know, you have all these wonderful kids and all these happy occasions. But I want to tell you something. I want to tell you how I feel. I've put that with him for 60 years. I'm old and I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Dale Carnegie wrote a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, Mark read that book. And he said, you know what, I can do better. So he wrote a book. Did any of you know that? No. But he wrote a book. It was leather bound, trimmed in gold with the name painted on the top. And the title of the book by Mark Goldsmith was How to Make Sure That Your Two Brothers and Your Sister Get Blamed for Everything. But I have one little story to tell you about Mark, because I can't stay here all night, but I could, but I'm not going to. We lived in Raleigh at the time, and I was home one day. I don't know why I was home, but I was home. And I hear the fire trucks go down the street. And I don't pay any attention, it's 6 blocks away. So Mark comes home at supper time like a good man. He's always good, you know, he never got in trouble. And I said, Mark, what happened down the street with the fire trucks? Oh, I don't know what happened with the fire trucks. He said, I was playing at somebody's house. I don't have a clue what happened about the fire trucks. And all of a sudden, he puts his little face up. It's bright red, burned, and his eyebrows just are gone. Figure out what happened at the fire. But I have to tell you this, I don't know how many of you have ever been to Mark's office. I saw Bob Coleman there a few weeks ago, or a month ago, whenever. He has a beautiful antique desk in the corner, right? It's got a conference table with chairs. And if you go in that office, you would never forget that you had been there. But there's one thing missing in that office, and I have to show you what it is. This is, you know, every great office has pictures of the presidents, and the Capitol has a picture of the president, and Raleigh, the mayor has, the governor has a thing. And now Mark has a picture of himself. This is a portrait of the president of Lebos. I can just say this in all fairness. We're all lucky, and I think I'm the luckiest person in this room.
Alright, our next roaster is a man I call Poppy. How you have worked with my dad for 44 years is beyond me. I mean, hell, y'all look the same age. Between fishing, Vegas, and family vacations, you sure have made a lot of memories and decisions for all of us. Please help me welcome a man that needs no introduction because he'd probably get up here anyway, even if he wasn't called.
Seems like I have that reputation. No matter what, Poppy will speak. And that's true. But you know, we've been together for how many years? It's been a long time. It's been longer than I can remember. But also, you know what? I want to say, you know, I think I taught him well. He followed me around, and he took notes, and we worked really well together. And we go to buying sessions, and we go to places. Marco is always the guy that can buy it for less. No matter what it is, he tells me, I think he's it, but I guess I trained him well. No matter what, he negotiates. I don't care what price you gotta have, what price you say, he's gotta negotiate it. Because that's the way he is. But I'm gonna tell you what, he is one lovable guy, regardless of what you say. No matter how you cut it, he still has a heart of gold. He really thinks twice. And he loves family. And thank God we've got a big family. And thank God it's something that we cherish. And I know that he cherishes because he comes off of the same mold. And I'm going to say this, that you know, we can all think that we are great. Well, you think so. But anyhow, nevertheless, we work well together. And I tell you the truth, this is my son, not my son-in-law.
Our next roaster is Uncle Bob and Aunt Nancy. Uncle Bob. Not only is he a funny guy, but he is a real doctor, not just a dentist. The next line I was going to insert here is null and void because of the embarrassing loss we just had to do. So without further ado, please help me welcome one of the best negotiators I know that still pays full price.
So, we've all gotten together tonight to celebrate Mark's 60th birthday, and what better way to honor him than to compare him to the most interesting man in the world. You may recognize a few of these, but most are unique to our most interesting man in the world. Stay frugal, my friend. For everyone who has shopped at Lebo's, and if you haven't, get the hell out of this party. His 10-gallon hat holds 20 gallons. Back in the day, his mustache preceded him, the way lightning precedes thunder.
For Joan and Scott, I want to say, he gave his father the talk. When he was young, he once sent his parents to his room. For Brian, Tracy, Jeff, and David, who have faced his icy stare when he was pissed, he once won a staring contest with his own reflection.
For Linda, who can truly appreciate all that is wonderful about her, this one we couldn't eliminate from the commercial, because it would embarrass your kids in particular. His lovemaking has been detected by a seismograph. He once won the World Series of Poker using only Uno cards. He has inside jokes with people he's never met. He has never waited 15 minutes after finishing a meal before returning to the pool, or is that just because he hates to exercise? He never says something tastes like chicken because he never eats anything that healthy.
Regarding how frugal he can be, he once bought something at the dollar store for under $1. If he were to say something cost an arm and a leg, it would. He once asked for the check just to see what it felt like.
He once approached a homeless man begging for change and took 2 quarters and a nickel out of his cup. His organ donation card says, "Buy one, get one free." When he prays to God, he asks for a discount. But for all of us here tonight, he is the life of parties that he has never attended. So Mark, we can't tell you how much we really love, respect, and really admire you. From all the Kipnesses, stay frugal, my friend. And for you to count all of your pennies.
Is receipt in here?
No.
Now for our next roaster, Jonathan Cohen. We have been friends since I was 12 years old. This means he has been hearing, "This ain't Harris Teeter," from my dad for far too long. He also used to be terrified of my dad. This came in handy when my dad coached our basketball team and he would yell, "Get your ass down the court!" Never have I ever seen a white Jew move so fast. Everyone, please help me welcome a man I call, to this day, one of my best friends, Jonathan Cohen.
So, I want to say first of all that I'm going to tone this back a little bit. Everybody's been so nice. Like he said, I've known David since I was about 12 years old, and I've been putting up with the Goldsmith antics for a very long time. And so that, but basically, if you don't know me, and I think most people do, but if you don't, all you need to know is that I am a better looking, smarter version of David. I'm more popular, and I have much better future prospects. So, today what I want to do, so I just had my first performance review at work, and what they gave us is this thing called a compliment sandwich. It's basically like they give you something very nice that you do, something terrible that you do, and then something very good that you do. And I think it's just their way of saying that millennials can't handle being criticized. I don't know. But I want to turn that on its head a little bit. I want to give you an insult sandwich. So, an insult sandwiches, I'll give one to David first because he's my very oldest friend. David, your hair looks terrible. It looks like the dingleberries that the dog leaves on the carpet. It looks like an old, ugly, disease-ridden swamp duck. So that's the insult, right?
Good example.
The compliment is you can draw stuff. The second insult is that, I don't know if you guys ever watched David play basketball. Worst basketball. He can't catch. The rebound is coming to him. Instead of catching it, he'll just swat at it. It's a volleyball, try to swat at it. This is what
Hey, we haven't got to you yet.
So, that's my insult sandwich for David. I think you kind of understand how it works now. So, I had one for Jeffrey and Brian and Tracy, but I'll leave it out. Right to Mr. Goldsmith, Marky Mark, Papa Goldsmith. I've been waiting to do this for a very long time. So, I haven't been the first person to say this tonight, and I'm sure I will not be the last. You are the cheapest person I've ever met. Mark has not paid full price for anything since 1975. He does not believe that inflation exists. Mark believes that hamburgers should always cost $1.50. He believes that MSRP stands for money stupid regular people pay. Mark believes that you shouldn't pay anybody to do housework if you can just get David to do it for you. And the only thing Mark will pray for is Costco because it can pay 4 people for the price of 1. So that's the insult, Mark. The compliment, you can sell cowboy boots pretty good. So insult number 2, Mark, you are so irresponsible. The first time I ever rode in a helicopter, it was with you. The first time I ever smoked a cigar, it was with you. The first time I was ever coached in basketball, it was you. We were the worst basketball team. He's running around, we were terrible. And I think what I want to say, he's the one. What I'm trying to say is that whatever I wanted to do around your house, I could pretty much do it. I was pretty irresponsible, but because of that, I've always been the son that you never wanted, but you always had.
Our next roaster is none other than Bob Cohen. Where to begin? Probably with what workout he just did and how good he is at basketball. For an old guy, you're still pretty good. Everyone, please help me welcome a man who I can proudly call another father, Bob Cohen.
I don't have anything written down. There's just going to be stories about Mark. When we first moved to Charlotte, we didn't know anybody. So my wife, Ryan, it could be. I didn't hear him. So Cheryl met Linda. Lindsay was like a year and a half. So Cheryl says, oh, we're going to go out with the Goldsmiths. I said, well, who are they? I said, well, I met Linda. She had, Brian was with a year and a half. I said, oh, so what are we doing? Okay, what? So I said, so where are we going? He says, well, we're going to the rodeo. I said, what? Rodeo. I said, I used to work on Wall Street. I'm middle class. Wall Street? I mean, the rodeo. I don't know what the hell the rodeo is. So we go. I said, all right, I'll be a nice guy. We'll go to the rodeo. And we never made it into the rodeo. Lebo's had a booth set up there. We're there, he's like, he's going to see how they're doing. And I have to say, I've never been to a rodeo ever since then, never will go, couldn't care less. So somebody brought up with Jonathan about what Mark does and being terrified of Mark. When Lindsay was 4 and a half, Cheryl and I went on a 2-week vacation. And we're going to California. And we needed to leave Lindsay with someone. Now, a lot of you know me, and I do have a brother who lives in Charlotte, but that's a whole nother week-long discussion about why they didn't take Lindsay. So Linda says, oh, we'll take her. You know, we had Brian, they had Tracy, they just had Jeffrey. Okay, another big deal. So we bring them over, and we said, well, Lindsay's a picky eater, but she's really good. Oh, don't worry about it. So we come back. They said, oh, she was great. So a few days later, we're home, and I don't remember what happened. I don't know what Lindsay did, but I just said, Lindsay, do you want me to take you back to Mr. Mark's house? And she goes, no, Daddy, I don't want to go back there. And that's the truth, and we just left it, I don't know what. Let me tell you, she ate, it was great, she just never wanted to go back. I'm trying to think, I had another one. It had something to do, oh yeah, poker. All right, you all know Mark he doesn't like to gamble that much. He only goes on the trips in our poker group because he has to. So we're in New Orleans, and we're sitting at the poker tables, and I'm sitting here, and there's a few others. I think David Miller and a few others were sitting here, and you know, I'm on a hot streak. I think I won $1 so far. And so Mark is sitting over there, and we happen to look up, and all of a sudden, a lot of you can relate to this. All of a sudden, a chair goes flying back. Mark jumps up, and he's like this. Come on, baby! And all of a sudden, you see this? God damn it! Well, he didn't have $10 on him. I'm not going to tell you how much Mark had on the table. It was so funny to see him do it, and he does it all the time. And this
I had to hit sooner or later, though.
Eventually. And the Las Vegas trip, Mark and I were roommates because someone at this affair just couldn't go with us because he had to go somewhere with his wife. That's why Mark was my roommate. Where's Steve? So we go up to the room and it's like 1 o'clock and Mark had a stack of chips that he didn't cash me, just left them on his nightstand. And I said, "You're not going back down." I said, no, I'm done. So at 4 o'clock in the morning I woke up. I don't know why. It could have been the smell in the room, I'm not sure. So I wake up and I kind of look over. Mark's bed looks like it's made. So I kind of reach over and the chips are gone. He's back down there again. He actually did very well that trip. It was like, what, $100 you won? 101. So that's it. Mark is still a great guy. There's just little stories. I won't say anything bad about it because I watch football every Sunday.
As he always taught me, better a dollar in my pocket is better than a dollar in your pocket. Now I'd like to introduce our next roaster, Miles Levine. Being a lawyer and friends with my dad came in handy. Well, probably not so much for you, but definitely for him. I mean, yeah, Jeffrey. Please help me welcome the best man from my parents' wedding, Miles Levine.
Hey, well, before I get started, Mark, since you're getting up there in age, and I know you get cold at night, got you a little So anyway, I've known Mark for probably about 45, 50 years, and I'm going to take you back a little ways. Before the J on Sharon Amity was Amity Country Club, and we had a swim team that we would swim all the other teams, and Mark was there, and Linda swam, and I don't remember Eric and Lori and Nancy. Jerry and Barbara didn't swim, but they were there. That's right. So anyway, Mark and I were on the same relay together, and I couldn't understand this. Every time we went to a swim meet, I don't know if you remember back then, but you would bring Hershey candy bars, something to help you during the swim meet, and that's what everybody brought, Hershey candy bars. But for some reason, every time Mark showed up at the swim meet, by the end of the swim meet, he had like 50 candy bars. I couldn't figure it out. So we're coming up in the middle of the season, and Mark is swimming breaststroke on the relay that I'm on, and we're the first relay for the meet, and I get up, and I'm looking around. Where's Mark? Mark's not there. So I turned around to my dad, who was one of the judges. He says, "You're not going to believe it." He says, "Mark has been suspended from Amity Country Club for gambling." What Mark was doing is he was the candy bars, and everybody on the other team, he was betting everybody on the other team who was going to win the races. He's only 10 years old. This has sort of been a recurring. He's the only person, the only 10-year-old that ever got suspended from him. So a couple of years later, I'm not sure if you were still suspended or not, but Mark was about, I don't know, maybe he was about 12, and I think Linda maybe was about 10 or 11. And we're out there, and Mark was quite a ladies' man when he was like 12. He was dating, he was going out and dating all the 10, 11-year-olds. I think everybody...
I like candy bars.
So he was really quite a ladies' man at age. And I see Linda. Like I said, Linda was maybe a couple of years younger, and we used to go out there all the time. And And Linda promised back then that I would never tell Mark this. And I've kept it a secret all this time, but I asked Linda, I said, Linda, why haven't you gone out with this Goldsmith kid? I said, he really wants to go out with you. Well, she told me this. Do you remember this? She said, look, it would be a real embarrassment and a stain and a stigma on the whole Levin family. I went out with Mark Goldsmith, who had got suspended for gambling. She also said, look, I'm never going to go out with a guy that I can beat by 2 body lengths. And every stroke, freestyle, backstroke, butterfly, breaststroke. She says, I'm never going out with a kid like that. Even though he's a couple years older, I can beat him in every stroke. Well, that's what she told me then. So, moving up a couple years, and I told you this is sort of a recurring problem. This last year I went over with Mark and the poker guys to the South Point Hotel in Vegas, which Mark was always talking about. I'd never been there. And so we get off the plane and we get to the hotel, and I guess my reputation sort of preceded me. Because I get to the hotel, and the first thing that happens is the owner of the hotel, owner of South Point Hotel, comes over to me, pulls me aside. I didn't know him. He said, Mr. Levin, he said, I understand you represent the Lebo's business conglomerate. And I gotta talk to you about something very serious. Last time Mark was here, he said, I've got this marker from Mark. And I don't know what to do with it. He said, I looked at the marker. You're not going to believe it. He had gambled away the whole Lebo's business. Every store that they owned. And even Jerry's $25 million pension. He said, look, he said, you know, Mark's not going to be able to gamble, not going to be able to do anything. This thing's got to be taken care of. Well, I really got very nervous. I didn't know what to do. So I called Jerry. And I said, Jerry, Mark's gambled away everything. I said, what are we going to do? Well, Jerry said to me, you remember this, Jerry? Jerry said to me, he said, look, he says, you know, I don't really care about the stores. I don't really care about the business. And my $25 million pension, you know, it's okay. I can live with that. He says, but if there's no business and no money coming in, then Mark is going to have to come back and live with Barbara and I. And he says, we can't have that. So Jerry went ahead and paid the marker off. But then while we're at South Point, I didn't understand this either. Everybody I met knows Mark. The busboys, the maids, the servers at breakfast, the servers at lunch, the servers at dinner, the dealers, the pit boss. Everybody there knew Mark. Everybody was so friendly. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why everybody just treated us like gold. Well, I found out a little bit later that what happens is every time Mark is on his way to South Point, they make up like 1,000 markers. If y'all know what a marker is. And what they do is they print Mark's name on every marker. There's 1,000 markers. They put it in gold. And all this time, I couldn't understand why they were so friendly, but they thought you were the owner of the place. But anyway, one of Mark's problems is that, and he knows this, he really knows this, that there's times when you should bet and times when you shouldn't bet, right? The biggest thing is knowing when to do each, and unfortunately he doesn't know either one. He got you something here. It's going to help.
Is that a magic 8-ball?
This is going to tell you every time when you should bet. So I hope that really helps you because I know you need some help.
Please welcome the next roaster Uncle Scott, who knows no boundaries.
It does feel good to be on the same level as Mark, and I'm up on his pedestal now. Growing up with Mark, I want to talk first about the loving, caring older brother that I had. Okay, so now we're going to move forward. There was a 6-year age difference, so we really didn't know any better. Back in the day, they couldn't find people to do the paper out, so it was a morning and an afternoon paper. So Mark got both of them for free. He didn't have to pay anything. So he says to my younger brother and I, "Oh, y'all, I'm busy today. Can you go do the morning paper route?" "Sure, we'll help you out." "Yeah, I'll pay you. So, about a week later, "Oh, can y'all do the afternoon route?" Yeah, we'll help. So the end of the month comes and we want to get our money. He's like, "Oh, those customers didn't pay me. I can't pay you for doing that route." He said, "I have no money and they're not paying." So of course, Mom said, get us to do everything, and has no remorse for that. Speaking of what Bob mentioned about walking into the room and knowing Mark was there, it's been a trademark of Mark's, and unfortunately he passed it down to one of his children. We know where he has been and where he is going before he ever gets there.
Captain Market territory.
No, all in all, I mean,
Did I say anything?
he tormented the hell out of us. His friends tormented us. He wouldn't let us speak to his friends. They would beat us up in the afternoons. And finally he outgrew all that and has become a good friend now to me. And this card here will kind of sum up his thing with this classic style.
You tell him not to say nothing bad about me, Mark.
Read it out loud.
To my brother, couldn't decide if I should get you something classy or just another card with a fart joke.
Well, next I had planned to sing a song for all of you. But I ended up deciding on leaving up to a group that can sing way better than me. You know who you are. Please get up and come sing My Dad a song.
Oh, Mark is having a 60th birthday. Yes, Mark is having a 60th birthday. And we're going to tell his story and we'll cover all his glories. Oh, Mark is having a 60th birthday. Happy birthday! Linda is Mark's beautiful wife. She makes sure he has a wonderful life. She helps out with the store, makes him eat healthy, what a whore. Very, very special wife. Happy birthday, healthy, healthy. Mark had 4 kids in his house. He says no pets to the tenant with the mouse. He is working, playing poker, it's amazing he's not a smoker. Mark always has a very full house. Happy birthday, healthy, healthy, sweet, sweet. Mark is always trying hard to make a deal. Some of them are really quite a steal. He will never pay the full price because he's cheap, 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 but so nice. Hard to make a deal. Happy birthday, healthy, healthy, sweet, sweet, good deals. Mark has a very unusual gift. As long as you don't take a big long whiff. Paint with gases, elevator, poker bad for the masses. Exxon would love to patent him. Happy birthday, healthy, healthy, sweet, sweet, good deal. There are many mitzvahs coming his way. From weddings, baby, and his big birthday. From the hotels to the flowers, bye-bye baby, spending hours. There are so many mitzvahs coming his way. Happy birthday, healthy, healthy, sweet, sweet, good deals, P.U., mazel tov. We have just one more verse. This one will really quench your thirst. We raise our glasses way up high because Mark is really a great guy. We wish him the best for many years. Happy birthday, healthy, healthy, sweet, sweet, good deals, P.U., mazel tov, cheers.
I need to get a picture of everybody.
Now I'd like to introduce our next roaster, Eric Sklut. You and my dad have been friends for a really long time, but unfortunately, now y'all are about to become family.
I got nothing. In a few months, we'll call each other Schmuckatunum. I've known Mark, I've known Linda, Lori, and I've known this family almost our entire lives, so we're blessed to be among you and glad to be here to celebrate. I am not going down there for the rest of you, but I do want to wish Mark the happiest, Lori.
And now I'd like to introduce my brother Brian Goldsmith, the wannabe favorite son. Just stop already. We all know it's me. When you decided you wanted to work for Lebo's, I thought you were crazy. I mean, how much slower and country did you want to talk? Hey, now I'm just only messing with you. I've always looked up to you my whole life until I became 15 and 5'9". Please help me welcome my brother, friend, and all-time competitor, Brian Goldsmith.
So I know all you guys know how well my dad does with technology, so I wrote my speech down so you can read it right here while I say it. But my dad is a character. So I figured I'd dress up in one of his outfits tonight. You know, he's been the American man. You've seen him with the flag pants on. He has challenged pro wrestlers at my bar mitzvah. He has stood up in the chair on every occasion on the Laura. Pretty much he is a one-man show. So I decided to replicate him. But everybody mentioned half of what I'm going to say, but he is a cheap man. I want to tell you about one occasion. You know, I work with him, so I've got easy access to him. Or he's got easy access to me. So I'm working at my desk one day. He's like, I've got a good Craigslist lead. Come with me. I'm like, oh great. So we get in the car and we drive down Independence Boulevard. We take a left on this side road. Of course we get lost, but we're going down the road. I see these trailers back in the back. Remember this? See these trailers back in the back. I'm like, oh,
junkyard.
It's a junkyard. And we're going back towards these trailers. Wonderful. This is going to turn out really well. So we go back in these trailers, and the guy's back there. He's a nice guy. He lets us up on one. Trailer is packed full of office supplies. Well, the day before, he got pissed off because we spent $25,000 on office supplies the week before. So he called up this guy from Craigslist, and he found it for, let's just say, a lot cheaper. So we spent half the day in this trailer unloading paper off the trailer, and he calls up his guy Gerald. Does everybody know Gerald? He's like, Gerald, get out here, get your truck down here. We gotta take this paper, we gotta haul this paper off. And one of his favorite lines is, shag on over here. So he said, shag on over here, Gerald. So he comes over here, shag the paper off, and he's all happy. Like David said, he does a dance every time he does something good. He's like, oh yeah, we're not gonna run out of paper now. So 2 months later, we come back in the back, and most of the paper's gone. And he's like, he's on a hot streak. No, that's another line he says. But he's on a hot streak. He walks in there, he says, nobody else take any paper without coming to see me. Well, we have a lot of adventures, a lot of stories, so I can't stand up here and tell you all of them, but we have a good time too. Another thing my dad does is, like David mentioned earlier, he's got a boy for everything. You need a tree cutter, he's got one of those. Got a raccoon in my backyard, oh don't worry, I got a guy. He comes over, he's pissed off because I didn't mow my grass. Oh don't worry, I'll send a guy over. I need a TV, he's got one of those. I need a new car, don't worry, I got a guy at the auction. Dent in a car, yeah, he's got one of those too. To this day, Annie thinks we're in the mafia. But this wouldn't be a roast without telling you some of his famous phrases. So in negotiating, majority of these phrases come up when he's negotiating. But one of my favorites, sitting at the table, they give him a price. It doesn't matter what price he gives them. He says, I wouldn't pay that if you came with it. The next item, his famous, is he'll be negotiating with somebody, and they get to a point, let's say they're $500 apart, and neither one is budging. He pulls out a quarter, says, I'll flip you for it. But you got to call it in the air. I don't think you've lost any of those, have you?
I can't remember one. Not many. Because I can't call, I know they can.
So, when he gets excited, one of his favorite phrases is, hot damn! And so I bought him donuts the other day. He texts me back, hot damn! So we'll be working on something together, and I'll make a mistake. And one of his famous lines, he says, I sent you to college, and I got dumber. And the other thing too is everybody knows he can't touch his toes. So one of the ones he does is he leans over like this and he says my arms are too short. But honestly, he's one of the best fathers you could ask for, and one of my role models. And Dad, I love you, and I hope you have a good 60th birthday.
Now I'd like to introduce Jeffrey Goldsmith, the troublemaker of the family. It was great growing up 2 years younger than him, because anything I did didn't seem to be that bad. One time, he convinced me to cut the alarm system so he could sneak out. You remember this show? Oh, no. Well, I did. We got caught, and they blamed him for it. It was great. No, but seriously. He has grown up a lot recently. He isn't such a troublemaker anymore. In fact, he's pretty straight-laced. He keeps this daily detailed agenda, and I swear, if I edited it to say, bark like a dog at 3 p.m., he would start barking like a dog at 3 on the dot, even if he was in one of his classes. Now, please help me welcome the dentist in training, Jeffrey Goldstein.
I just want to say that's what Lebos will do to you. And of course we can't do anything normal, Dad. So
yeah, but you were there too.
For 60th birthday, so oh boy. The last thing I want to do tonight is hurt my dad's feelings, but it's on my list of things to do. Dad will never be mistaken for the cover model of any health magazine. When we worked at Lebos together, he reminded me after every lunch not to tell Mom where we ate fast food. He has a nickname at Bojangles. Mr. Survey. He completes the survey on the back of the receipt and redeems it for a free sausage biscuit. Over and over. I invited Mom and Dad over for dinner a few summers ago. And we were having chicken and vegetables. He wanted to know the menu. He shows up with a personal-sized Stover's mac and cheese. And says the health stuff makes him sick. My dad didn't blend in well with the other Country Day parents. My kindergarten teacher noticed kids laughing at me because I had a speech impediment. They recommended my dad to hire a speech therapist. He refused to acknowledge that I had a speech impediment, so he wouldn't have to pay for a therapist. I still call policeman Ossifer. It's so cheap, Dad. Carpool line was mortifying. My friends' names would be called, and they'd run up to Mercedes-Benzes and Porsches and BMWs. They'd call my name. I'd walk up to the Lebos. So my fiancée, Blair Sklut, her parents would be at the school all the time for her getting different awards and accomplishments, and they would see my parents, they'd see them. But my dad would be frantically pacing to the principal's office with his head down, red face, so they never